everyone. Welcome to Breakthrough Conversations. My name is Danielle Perry and I'm the host. If this is your first time, this is a Christian podcast which features people of all ages, and they share a bit of their story about how God has helped them to overcome a difficult challenge, situation, or a season in their lives, or maybe they're on their way to overcoming with God's help, and they do share authentically. Well, if you are back, then you know that this is part 2 of episode 39 featuring my dear friend, Mrs. Erica Elliott, and the title of this episode is Overcoming Lukewarm Christianity. If you tuned into part 1, then you know that this episode is also going to be hilarious, but it's also going to shed light on sort of the dangers of pulling too far away from the Lord, right? But when you come back to the Lord, realizing that He was there the entire time, and there's so much more for you when you actually draw near to Him and trust Him with your life. So y'all, without further ado, here it is, part 2. Enjoy and be blessed. So now you're married, right? Mm-hmm. And you're no longer this lukewarm Christian that you once were. Talk about your perspective of God. I want to say, just when you really began to take Him seriously, so now you're married. Talk about just your perspective of God now, and even your perspective of yourself.
That's a great question. And it's so hard for me to answer because I don't know. Like, I feel like the foundation was always there. Mm-hmm. And like, I've always had a lot of faith. Mm-hmm. Like, I have times in my life I can remember believing for stuff other people didn't, and then seeing it come to pass and being like, I knew He was going to do it. Mm-hmm. Told y'all. Mm-hmm. Like, because my mom would always say that I have the gift of faith, which I was like, is that like one of the fivefold? Like, I did, but because I would believe. I remember my cousin, we were going to Disney World when I was like 16, and one of my favorite cousins, I wanted her to go, but her mom was like, she can't go. And I remember being like, I'm praying about this, and she's going. Like, she's going to Disney World with us. And they figured it out, and she went. And my mom was just like, I've always been the type to be like, no, I'm going to pray, and I'm believing it's going to happen. And it happens. When she called me and said she had cancer, I was like, all right, well, listen, you've been doing the Lord's work for years. He got you. So what we got to do, like, I was just very much like, this is light work, because He said He would. He gonna do it. He has no other option, kind of thing. So I always had that. I feel like the partying, the drinking, all of that was tied into that kind of just clouded that. Yeah. So I feel like the more I got away from it, the more that foundation just kind of kept rising up in me. Someone said once, like, you see your heavenly Father how you see your earthly father. And so my dad isn't very big on affection, but he will spend money on me. Okay. And so I think sometimes that kind of played in how I saw God, of like, give me stuff.
A provider.
Yeah. And also, like, He gonna come through. Because, like, my dad wasn't there, but He was there. Like, He went in the house. If I call and say, hey, I need $600, we need $600. So it kind of gave me that, like, princess He's spoiled. So I'm like, of course my Heavenly Father would, because He can, kind of thing. But it definitely, being with Shed, the maturity part, like me growing. The problem was never God. It was me. And so it's weird because I feel like God hasn't changed for me. How I view myself, how I view God, how I'm a little more protective of what I take in, what I put out. Because I could be very straightforward with my words. I can be mean. I'm gonna just be real with you. Okay. I could be mean. If I get to a certain point, I can be very mean. And I had to really work on that. And, it's not cute and it's not okay. Like, if there's no purpose for this, we don't say it. So just really growing up. And then Shed is also like, he gonna make you grow up. Like, I love it. But at times I'll be like, let me have this moment. Like,
right.
I could handle it better. I'm sure I could. But let me have a fit. He will not. Like, he won't let me stay in nonsense.
That's good.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it's helped, clearly.
Yeah.
But I be like, yo, just hold me while I cry. Like, don't tell me to pray about it. I mean, I have it, but don't tell me to pray about it. And then I pray about it and be like, you know what God told me? He was looking at me like,
Right.
So now, I just pray about it first because I already know. But yeah, so it was a lot of maturing, but I don't know. I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like God's hand has always been on me. And I feel like it's so many times, especially with the drinking, because literally I stopped drinking in April. I feel like my whole life changed within like a year. Like the whole direction of my life, everything. And it's been so many times that I'm like, God has always been right there. Like, girl, whenever you're ready, I have so much for you.
Right. Yeah.
And then usually whenever I hit that little switch and it's like all the doors open and I'm like, oh.
Right. Yeah.
I was supposed to let this go years ago. So yeah, like even being nicer to like my mom and stuff, like opening those doors and just being kinder or just more disciplined and God hasn't really changed for me.
Yeah.
It's me growing up or being more aware of what all I have access to, all the authority that I have. Because I'm like, he been pretty much doing what he do, man of his word, So if that answers your question,
it does.
It's hard for me to
it does. It does. It does. So at what point, or talk about just your relationship with God now. Like, so your relationship with God while you were doing all of those things, right? Back in college. Because you said that foundation has always been there, which is why we affectionately titled this episode Overcoming Lukewarm Christianity, right?
Right.
Because you explained to me how you knew God was real. You knew he existed. You had these principles, from your mom and just growing up in church, right? So, and you would still go to church, at some points during that time, but you weren't fully surrendered in your life to God. So how is your relationship with God different now? I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer answer, but I kind of want you to dig it out. How is your relationship with God different now, no longer being lukewarm versus when you were?
I say the biggest thing is now I know God's word is true. Meaning like before it was just a part of my life. Like I can say, God's not giving me a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. Boom. Got it. Cool. But now when I say it, it's like, oh no, this fear that I'm feeling is not from God. I don't take this on. Right. Like I have power. Like I can love people even when I'm going through this. Like my mind is sound. I am not crazy. Like it is so much more impactful for me. And so I feel like growing up, I had a foundation, but now I have experiences to put with him. And so I never thought God wasn't real, but now I'm like, as the old saints, like I know that I know that I know that I know. Because I have situations where I'm like, no, that was God. Like not in the, won't he do it? Look at God. Like, no. That has to be God because it was nothing else. And I have so many of those that now it's just like, it's like my skin. It's like, it's me and God. Like, what you want? It's just so matter of fact. It's like, I can't separate the two. Yeah. I think my focus going forward is to be more of a scholar of the Bible. Because I'm a lot more me and Jesus, kind of like quiet time, worship music kind of thing. And I'm realizing as I get a little older, like, you gotta know some more stuff. Because we watched the Chosen series, which I love. Now, we not caught up on the last season because I forgot why. But at one point, when it was all the disciples was coming into the mix, and one of the Johns was a cousin, but then John the Baptist was somebody else. It was a couple different Johns that I thought was all the same person. And Shad was like, what? And I was like, what? Who he? Because in the series, John the Baptist was like crazy. Like, he's not crazy, but he was like real wild. Yeah. And all this stuff is happening, and I'm watching this with fresh eyes. Like, oh my goodness. And Shad is like,
But you know that's in Matthew, right?
You know this is literally all written down. This is in the Bible. And I'm like, you sure? Where? And he was just, I mean, every episode I was like, that's an answer. And he was like, you got to start reading. It's like, you have got to start studying because, like, I know the big stuff, but I never thought, I've been so big on my experience with God, and now I want to start learning more about the whole full gospel of God so that I can also share with others in a more complete way, because right now it's about me and mine, and that's also just a maturity thing for me, because I can be very self-centered. I'm the youngest. It's a big age gap. It's pretty much been about me since I got here. And even that is just, you know, Shed helping me over time be like, hey, everything's not about you. And me being like, you're lying to yourself. Everything is about me. That's why you're talking to me right now. Like this, like I was very nice about it, but I'm realizing now how some of my self-centeredness plays into other stuff. So even like with growing my relationship or reading the Bible more, Shed asked me like, well, why don't you feel like you need to study? I was like, because me and God are good. He's like, but you don't know da-da-da. And I'm like, why don't you know that? That doesn't pertain to my life right now. Like, I need to know what's going to help me get through the day. And he's like, yeah, but like, what if someone else, that's on them. I need to be good. I'm going to God about me. Like, our pastor just did a whole sermon on interceding, right? And he was talking about intercession and all that other stuff. And
very selfless. That's very selfless.
And he was hitting on it, and I started tearing up because I was like, oh, you selfish. You letting a lot of people you love just be out here in the wind. And I'm like, Jesus, what color nails should I get? Like, I'm just like, but I didn't realize that. But now that I have that, like, it's really made me be a lot more intentional. And like, even like our, my church has like different courses on like learning the Bible and stuff that I've always been like, I don't feel like it, because that's another day I got to drive out there. And now I'm starting to be like, girl, you need to like do that. So it's just the learning part. But I'm like, as far as me, we good. He ride with me hard. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I don't know his whole full backstory like I should. Like, if you get too deep, I'm like, he died and rose again. Like, hallelujah. But if you get too deep in the storyline, I'm like, I can Google it, but I don't know. But yeah, The Chosen was eye-opening. I think Shed was like, who did I marry? Because there was some stuff I was like, how you know that? And he looked at me like, why don't you know that? I just kept reading the same chapters that I needed. I just kept on what I needed. I didn't go.
No, but that's good that you hit on that, because I don't think we realize our self-centered ways at times. And when Shedrick said, well, what about that other person who may need something? And you're kind of like, dang, I don't know what they need, because I ain't read that part. You know, I think it definitely just sheds light on how scripture isn't only for us, but it is for other people as well. So,
and also because like being the youngest really has shaped so much of my life. But because everyone in my life usually helps me, I've never had to like take care of someone else. So when first time he would mention stuff like, what about someone else? I'm like, they figured out. Why would he come to me for help? I don't help. Like, the thought of me being responsible for someone else in that way is crazy. And so that took some learning and growing of like, hey girl, just because you have no younger siblings don't mean that you just don't have to worry about nobody. You know? And then, you know, not having kids yet. So it's like a lot of my friends had kids young. So they had to, you know, they not selfless because they can't, I mean, they are selfless because they had a kid. I'm like, I'm 35 years in this. It's me. So,
I get it.
You know, even working through that, but you know, it took me a minute to be like, oh, I do need to know more for these others that keep talking about. So
I can relate to that growing up as an only child.
Okay. So you get it a little bit,
I can understand because I was spoiled. I was spoiled. And so that whole part that you explained about everybody doing for you,
Yeah.
and you didn't really have to ask, what did you say? Ask for help? Is that what you said?
No, like, no one asked me for help.
No one asked you for
Yeah.
help. Right. So I get that. And I'm still learning today, I would say, probably especially in my marriage, how to be more selfless and how not to rely so much on Jared, because I relied so much on my parents for stuff, because they just did it for me.
Yeah.
Because I was spoiled.
Yeah.
So I can
Yeah,
relate.
Shed has helped with that.
Yeah.
Which annoyed me. It did. I don't think I've ever told him this, so when he sees this, I'm sorry. But he would, like, I thought when I got married, we would do everything together, or you do everything for me. Period. Like, I'll cook and stuff, you know what I'm saying? I'll do what I got to do, but, like, even, like, you know, groceries, like, all this stuff, I thought it would be more like us together in the aisles, and he'd be like, no, you got it? You good? And it wasn't like a do it for me, just in his mind, why would you need me to help you with this? And so he would just so matter-of-factly be like, yeah, you got it. And I'm like, or like certain phone calls he'll make me take. Like, we refinance our house, and he's like, yeah, call the people. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Call the people?
Right. I know what you mean.
Do that and tell me what they say. But he was like, no, now I am better with numbers. And Shed don't be listening to people. So he will have a whole 30-minute conversation and hang out, but he say, he'd be like, I don't know. So, like, I'll take notes and stuff. So I did it, but he will make me make certain phone calls. And not make, like,
yeah, I know.
You know,
I
I'm
know.
not, because, you know, people say,
No.
But he'll be like, no, you got it. You can do this. And so it's kind of forced me to be more independent. And then also with his schedule and stuff, like, a lot of times he's not here. So I have to, like,
yeah, you
do
just got to
stuff.
do it. Yeah.
Now, some stuff I just don't do when he's not here. And he knows. So he'll text me, like, please take the trash out. And I'll be like, you should have when you left. But I'll depending on the day, I will actually take it out. But for years, he would come home and be like, trash. And I was like, this has nothing to do with me. Like, we had to have that conversation, like, so many things. If I don't do them, it's not on my brain to do them. And it's almost as if it doesn't exist, which to him is crazy. He's like, so you don't see the trash? I'm like, I see it, but it's nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
The trash exists in its own land, and someone does this. That's not me.
In your house.
In my house. I'm just like, the trash could be piling high. He's like, you don't see it? I was like, I did see it, but I was like, somebody clearly will take care of this. That's not me, because I never have. Why would I today?
Right.
So I just had, like, sometimes you got to put something on my radar. Like, hey, Erica, can you do this? Oh, yeah, of course. But if you don't say that, I'm on to the next thing. This has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But it's like, I grew up that way.
Yep.
Like, I had chores and stuff. But the big stuff, I ain't handle. I was the baby. And now, the realization that I'm not the baby anymore is shocking. Okay? There's still days where I'm like, I'm expected to do what now?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. And I think we all have things from our childhood that even in our 30s, we're just still learning how to overcome. I mean, if you grew up a certain way, there are certain habits that needs to be broken if they're bad habits. Yeah. And it takes time. So yeah. I get that.
Very much so.
I want you to talk about, what do you love most about God?
I'll probably say his kindness. I was going to say faithfulness, but I feel like the kindness is the faithfulness. I don't know. When I think of how many things, like, I see God in so much stuff. So, like, there's so many times where I'm like, oh, you ain't do that for me. Like, that's how I feel with a lot of stuff. Even with, like, me and my dad are a lot closer now than we've ever been. Even our relationship and how he is with me, how I'm with him. Things like, he got sick in like 2017 or something. And we got a lot closer then. But even then, it's just certain things. And I'm like, you didn't have to preserve that for me. You didn't have to restore that for me. So I see it as kindness to me. I'm sure there's a much better, fancier way to explain it. But it's so many things. And I'm just like, oh, thank you for thinking about me. You didn't have to do that. That's so kind. As I get older, there's so much stuff that is so full circle. And I feel like every single thing God is like turned around. Like he's used every single piece. Yeah. Like for something good. Even like this. You know what I mean? Like the connections we had without knowing each other that we have now. I'm like, oh, you know what I mean? Like it's just so many things. I look at my life and see how it's like all so interwoven, where it's like you was just, I was throwing stuff in the wind and you were just taking it and storing it for another day. Yeah. Yep. So that is something that makes me really happy. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So looking back, right? And we're kind of going backwards a little bit, but I think I put this question at the end for a reason. Looking back at your lifestyle, why do you think that you were comfortable in your lifestyle being lukewarm? Because I think it's good to kind of shed light on that for anybody who may be in that lifestyle now.
There are times where I feel like, knowing my life now and how I feel, I probably wasn't as comfortable as I thought I was back then.
Okay.
Because now I'm like, it didn't feel like this. You know what I mean? Like it was a lot of, like I always say, college was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Because we had so much fun, but we were all depressed. We were all sad. We were all heartbroken. You know what I mean? Like, let me tell everybody, because I don't know everyone's story. But the worst breakups and drama and family issues, I feel like, happened then, where now that's not even a thing. But I think it was the people around me, and not like they're bad people, but just everyone I knew. You know, everybody's in college. If everybody hanging was drinking, you're going to be drinking. So it was a thing to do. And I just convinced myself, like, you know, the Bible is old. Like, it said don't drink, but like, it ain't really say don't drink. You know what I mean?
It ain't really say that. I mean, it's written there, but it ain't really say that.
You know?
They didn't have Hennessy back then.
They didn't. You was talking about the stuff you had. I'm not drinking that. I'm drinking this. This is Belvedere. Like, you know, like, I just convinced myself, because I'm like, ain't no way. And then also being so sheltered, for lack of better words, thinking that everyone's living this way. And then you get exposed, like, most of the people is out here in these streets. And they seem fine. Because I'm like, if this is the case, heaven is empty. Like, there's like 3 people in it, according to the standard I thought you had to be. So I was like, so I must have missed something. So I think it's just all those things. And then, like I said, the people around. And then, like, the culture. You know, I feel like college is really just a way for a lot of people to make a lot of poor decisions and start habits that take them years to break. I don't feel like, I feel like people learn more negative stuff in college than they do positive. I said what I said.
I said
what I said. But I feel like, you know, more people leave college with an addiction to something.
Wow. Interesting.
Or, yeah, than they do knowledge about the field they're going to be in. But
wow,
that's how I feel. I could be wrong. I'm sure most people are like, well, I had a different experience. Great for you. But most people that I know, your job trained you. So you could have, you know what I mean? I can't be like, this one class I took freshman year really prepared me for doing payroll at this company today. No, I had to learn how to do payroll when I got there based off their system. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a general thing. Now, you're a doctor or a lawyer. Okay. But my degree's in HR. Like, I make tables in my backyard now. You know what I mean? Like, you never know where you're going to end up. But I feel like so many things are tolerated and encouraged or, like, ignored because you're in college. You know, oh, you're sleeping around. When you're in college, you're young. Oh, you're, you know, smoking weed. You're in college, you're young. Oh, you're blacking out at parties. Oh, you're in college, you're young. And it's like, people don't just graduate and stop doing those things.
That's true.
I'm not paying $60,000 to do it. But anyway, so I don't know what your question was, because that's like I'm really passionate about that, but a lot of people don't want to hear that.
No,
their kids are in college and it makes them sad, but.
That's true. The question was, why were you comfortable living that way?
So the environment, it is, I find now we had different experiences at the same school, but for me, for the friends I had going in and the friends I made, it would have been a lot more lonely for me to not do the things they did. Now, at the time, I wasn't thinking that way. It was just like, they're cool. We're having fun. And, like, we did a whole bunch of, like, we go see movies. It wasn't like everything was just us drunk. Like, it was stuff to do, just drunk at the stuff to do. But it wasn't, I didn't even know that there was a whole section of Towson that was, like, not doing those things. Because I'm like, you go to Tiger Fest. Like, you want to do stuff. You want to meet people. And everybody I met was like, party. And I was like, yes. So it was easier. And I'm a lot more strong-willed now, but you got to be real with yourself. And sometimes you're a follower. Like, I had confidence more than I did when I was a little kid, but I wasn't necessarily like volunteering to be like, I'll be the one to be different. Like, no, I want to go with the flow. And then I think it just was also the whole men thing and wanting attention and wanting that kind of like wanting men to want me, and definitely stemming from like daddy issues of him not being like in the house and really reinforcing some stuff for me. If you want to be if you want to be attractive, you want men to like you, you tend to do a little more and be in some places that you probably shouldn't, trying to attract these men that honestly are not even really worth it. I mean, I'm sure they're great people now, but I feel like it was kind of a mix of those things. And I don't know if I was that comfortable or if I was just like, this is life. This is what you do. Everybody said, of course we put Adele on and cry. We're 19. Like, so was she on one of those albums. You know what I mean? Like, I remember getting like, it was like a Nora Jones getting her album, playing it and like laying on my bed and just crying through the whole album. And was like, good album. Moving on. Like, so I think back, like, were you happy, sis? Because there was a lot of crying.
Wow.
Drive home from the club, crying. Like, why I was crying? So I don't think I was as comfortable with it as I thought.
Wow.
But at the time, that's all I knew. And a lot of people that I grew up with in church that went to college did similar things. So it wasn't really like I had this network. Now, like I said, they were there. I didn't know y'all existed.
We were there.
I know.
On the other side.
I know y'all like that.
No, but, and I'm not trying to say we were these perfect Christians or anything, because trust me, I got some stories, okay?
Y'all weren't like, y'all would have helped me more than hindered me.
Yeah, we definitely weren't perfect, that's for sure. But you said something that was really key. You said you weren't sure if you were actually comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? And that you said that you were sad, that you were depressed, and you probably believe that a lot of the others were either sad and depressed or just dealing with stuff as well. I thought about how our frontal lobes aren't fully developed, right?
We are out there. Which is crazy to me.
It ain't fully developed
like,
yet,
you
right?
in college, you grown. You
No.
You need chaperones.
No, yes.
You need guidance.
Yes. And I like what you said about how, the college experience, it shapes just who you are and who you will be. Now, granted, we all have the ability to change, right? But how did you say it? You said, how did you say it? You were basically saying how a lot of the experiences that we have in college, we remember those experiences more negative than positive. Okay. Yeah. So clearly that may not speak to everyone, right? Because I can't say that for my story, right? But that goes to just shaping an experience in and of itself. Yeah. Because college definitely, it will definitely define, they're just defining moments in college. Yeah. If you can say it that way. Yeah. Like there are defining moments in college. And I can say that the things that I experienced helped shaped me into just who I am as far as a woman of God, right? Thank God, because when I came to college, I said I'm going to a club. I said that because I had never been to one. I was never the party type in high school, middle school, no. But high school, no, I was never the party type. And I said, I am going to go to a club.
Did you ever make it to
one? No.
Oh.
Erica, I never made it to one. Like my mindset going into college wasn't, I'm going to be this on fire for God Christian. Like it was really, okay, I'm out of my parents' house. I'm an hour and a half away. I'm going to really see what it's like to live this party club lifestyle. And I never made it because I went to a gospel choir rehearsal and the power of God fell. And I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to the club. And like, by the grace of God, I lived my entire college life as a for real Christian. Thank God, you know? Yeah. So yes, when it comes to just college in and of itself, it shapes who we are. It brings defining moments. And I believe that if we're not careful, if it shapes some type of negative aspect into our lives, we're probably going to lean towards that. Like you said, just because you got that degree don't mean you stop drinking, right? You might need to break that at some point. You know? So, yeah, it's college.
It's tricky. I mean, everyone, your experience is what you make it.
Yes.
And mine is what I made it.
Yes.
I'm fully aware.
Yes. It's what you make it.
Yeah. Yep. And my office job, we get interns in and stuff like that. And I just see them, and they're all, you know, great people. But I'm like, one of the things that really annoys me is that the legal age is 21. In college, 75% of people there are not 21. But it's the expectation of, oh, they're going to be drinking, it's a party. So why is the law not the law when you're in college? Okay. Yep. The most alcohol I had was between 18 and 21.
Dang.
And the most alcohol I've been bought was between 18 and 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And Towson, they turned up because, first of all, it's a PWI.
All of your crowd? I had a fake idea this girl looked nothing like me. I mean, this girl had 100 pounds on me. She was 6 shades lighter. And I would go to the guys and be like, oh my God, it's a beautiful night, isn't it? And they'd be like, right on there. Y'all nasty.
That's crazy to think about, right?
It's crazy.
Like, I remember going into just dorm rooms of whoever, right? And like, there's just bottles. Empty bottles of alcohol. You're 19.
How'd you get those? Like, but you have so much access to stuff. Even promiscuity, how much access, or even like, oh, you know, those were my college days. I was wild. And it's like, but when did you stop being wild?
When did you stop?
Also, what effects do you have of that wildness that we're not talking about? Like, it's a lot. And I feel like we let so much go because it's college. And I'm not saying that if I didn't go to college, I wouldn't have made those decisions. But the access I had.
The access, yeah.
Like, I could have people in my phone and be like, yo, give me a bottle of so-and-so. At 19, and they were like, just give me a bottle. That I have to pay for.
Yep.
So now I'm drunk for free? Yeah, I'm doing this again. You know, like, but again, that's also me and my personality. You know, you probably wouldn't have had, you know, everyone's different, but I'm just different. Like the access and the just like, it's okay. And then you get in the real world and it ain't cute to be drunk from Wednesday to Sunday no more, but you've been getting drunk from Wednesday to Sunday for 4 years.
That's right.
So it's like,
that's right.
Why would this stop? You know, like just, I think that's also a journey I went to through of like, oh, I played myself. You know, because you're not thinking about everything seems so low stakes, and then you're out of college and you're like, oh, these are high stakes. This is my life. Like, this is my life. What am I supposed to do now?
Absolutely.
So but I'm sure there was many factors that played into why I made the decisions I made. That was not Towson's fault. But I was very surprised when I got to college of how like we could just do this. All the stuff they said growing up don't apply when you're a college student. Oh, cool. But you know.
That's why I like. When I think about youth that I know who are about to enter into college or who will in the next few years, I'm just like, Lord, like, please keep them.
Yeah,
like,
it is possible because you was fine. You know, everyone don't have my story.
He snatched me up quick, like, because I was for real about to be just, this is going to be my moment to try this stuff that I never tried before.
I don't know what the disconnect was. I was like, you got it right? Okay. You good? I don't know what happened because I just, but I came back around. It was a journey. I came back around.
So you said you dropped out your sophomore year. At what point did you go back to college?
I went back to college when I was 24.
Okay.
Or 23. I was out just working for 4 years. And then I still owed Towson money because I like dropped out. So I'm gonna tell you, my sister's amazing. So one Christmas, her gift was that she paid Towson off for me, so I can go back to school.
Wow.
So like, when she is my angel.
I know that's
She's
right.
my angel.
Go ahead, big sis.
And she know how I'm about her. Like, she'll talk about her job. Like, my sister will fight y'all. Yes, I will. You do her dirty, I will fight y'all. I will come up here. Like, but anyway, so she paid me to go back to school. Well, she paid off Towson, and then I went to UB, and I was there. When I met Shed, I was part-time. Part-time at UB, part-time working. And then I went into full-time working in online classes. I think I had like 2 or 3 online classes and like 1 or 2 in person. I would do at night. Because UB had a really good schedule for like people that had jobs. And then I graduated, I want to say I was 26 or 27.
Okay.
Yeah. So at that point, I just wanted, like, when I think back now, I'm like, I shouldn't have went to college at all and just started building stuff at 18. But I wanted to just get the degree to have the degree. I'm glad I have it because I'm like, I can do so much with it. But yeah, that was the whole thing. Because I thought I was like, I remember telling my sister when I decided to like not go back to school, and she was like, I think this is a bad idea, but you're wrong. Like, that's what she said to me. Because that's just who she is. Like, she's not gonna fuss. She's just like, this is not good. Oh well. And then that turned into 4 years. And it probably would have been less time if I hadn't owed Towson money. But I owed them like $3,000, and I was like, I don't know who you think is paying this money back to y'all. And so when she paid it, I think I enrolled probably in that, like, not that spring, whatever the quickest I could enroll. I did that and went to UB.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
What is one thing you would tell your lukewarm self?
I don't even think it would have to be a conversation. Girl, come on in, sit down, take some notes, pull a book out, jot this down. Because I think the biggest thing would be, because what I want to say, I know if I told myself then, she'd be like, what? Because I want to say, you're going to lose yourself, but the person you gain is much better. But she'd be like, well, I don't want to lose myself. I'm amazing. Yes. So I would probably tell her, like, everything you've been looking for, especially the fun parts, are in Christ. Because I still have so much fun. Probably more fun. Not to say that I should. I'm always having a good time. Like, but I'm not hungover, and I don't feel bad, and I don't have to, like, lie about who I'm hanging out with, you know? Like, it's just, you know, good, clean fun, but not in a corny way. It's just, it's good, clean fun. So that was probably the biggest thing I would tell her to get her to, like, change. People always say, like, oh, it gets better. It does get better, but I mean, but it probably would be like, everything you want is in Christ. Yeah. Because that's really what it is. Yeah. So. Good. Yeah, but it would have to be a conversation. We were like, if you could go back and tell 15-year-old you one thing, I was like, I don't even know where to start. It's so many things I need to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that.
But, yeah.
So, you're such a fun person, right? Like, since I've known you, you've been a fun person. So, I'm like, what was the drunk Erica like? Because...
Oh, she was fun. She was real fun. That was an issue for me because... I will say drunk Erica and the person you have here are similar because drunk Erica, like reasonably drunk Erica, I wasn't thinking about people looking at me, how I look. I was just being myself. Now, drunk. So I wasn't my true self. You know what I mean? Right. But like it took away some of those
insecurities and all those things.
But drunk Erica, a lot of dancing on tables, you know? A lot of, you know, we at a red light and I'm out the car in the middle of the road at 2 a.m. Like, it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of dancing. It's a lot of dancing. You know, it's a lot of breaking into song, chorus lines outside, you know. I might hit a cartwheel. Who knows, you know? Drunk Erica could also be very cocky. Very cocky. I told one of my friends one time when I was drunk, I said something along the lines of like, you're lucky I like you because if I didn't, I would steal your man or something like that. Didn't remember that. Next day, she was pissed. And I was like, what wrong? And she told me, and I was like, golly. I mean, it's true, but that's crazy to say, right? Like, that was drunk Erica. So it was really like, it was the fun, but also like the immature, spoiled kind of part of me, the selfish part of me was a little higher. Because I was so fun, it kind of overshadowed like,
yeah,
who do you think she is, kind of thing. And it was also like a false confidence, because I'm way more confident who I am now, but then I was just like, I'm that girl, like, you know what I mean? And I really didn't truly believe it. But when you drunk and you turn on, like, you know, Beyonce, of course, you know, because that's what the music, all that, so that was very fun. And I think it is this, but just a much more like control. I'm not. Now, don't get me wrong. If the table's sturdy enough and I can get up there, I dance on the table. You know, I cut a rug on the table, but I got to get down, and my knees ain't who they used to be. Because even like my family, like we get together, we always dance and stuff like that. So we're all very fun. But it was fun. I was never really like a get drunk and cry kind of girl. It was fun times. But I also, that when you're not at parties and you're just drinking is, you know, sad, lonely, stuff like that. And so that was a part of like, because alcohol is a depressant. People forget that. Like, you turn up, but then when you riding home or you home trying to go to sleep, it's just like, this sucks. So that part wasn't fun. That part wasn't fun at all. But you know,
I just think it was such a lie of the enemy to tell you that you couldn't be a fun person without drinking. You know, you couldn't be a fun person if you totally surrendered your life to God, because I'm just, now that I know you, who you are in God, I'm just like, she's so fun. Like, you know, so I just think it's interesting. It's interesting how the enemy will play on the very thing that is actually true and great about you and make you think otherwise, you know? So,
which is crazy. I mean, that's how the enemy be working. But that was my biggest thing. I mean, outside of daddy issues and blah, 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 it was just like, I still want to be fun. And it's kind of like, I can't not be fun. Like, I'm gonna just, if I'm like alive, I'm gonna have fun. It's just, why wouldn't I? Right. You know what I mean? Like, life is too short and also too long to be out here not having fun. Enjoy it.
I love it. So, I love it.
That's how I roll now.
I love that. Well, we are wrapping up this conversation, but I do want you to share any advice, any encouragement that you have for anybody out there who is kind of, you know, back and forth with, you know, their lifestyle and God, and kind of in the world, but in God. And what kind of advice would you have for them?
I would say, be bold. And everyone says that now, and be fearless, but no, be bold. Take that stand. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You feel it. And a lot of times people get to the end of life or 20 years out and be like how I said, like, I knew it wasn't, like, you know, you cry too much. Like, you know, you too sad. Like, you know, some of the stuff you're in, you know, it's not healthy. Like, be bold enough to take that step away. There's so much more on the other side. Like, people say it all the time, but I don't really know of anyone that turned their life to Christ and their life crumbled. Not saying they start going to church and life crumbled, or someone said they love, no, but that seriously turned their life to Christ, and then you saw their fruit wither away. I don't know of anyone like that. I've never seen them or heard of them. Circumstances change. I mean, since I've given my life to Christ, my mom got sick, my dad, like, stuff happened, but that was gonna happen regardless. Like, they didn't get cancer because I love Jesus, you know what I mean? But how I would have dealt with that, drunk, I would have never been there for my parents. Being that person, you know, I'd try to drink it away, and that you can't go to doctor's visits at 6 a.m. and be drunk, you know what I mean? So it's all kinds of stuff like that, but just be bold enough to, like, take that stand. And also, it's so many resources now with, like, social media. It's so many people you can find, so that if your friends aren't doing this, you can find other people. There's so many people in the world. You can find other people. Just don't be afraid to be like, no, I don't want to do this. It's okay. You still gonna be fun. However you are now, you that person. Not like, I mean, you can change and grow, but if you're fun, you still gonna be fun. Yeah. I mean, like again, I would need to have a time and a chalkboard. It's like, no. Point one. But just don't be afraid to do something different. You're not alone. It's more people like that. And just, you might find a hobby. You might be building tables in your backyard because you have all this free time because you're not at a bar. So there's that. YouTube is a great resource. But I love it. But give Christ a try. Just try.
I love it.
See what happens.
Yeah, that's good. And I did want to make mention of the fact that I'm so glad that God gave you the strength to not go back when your mom had cancer.
Yeah.
Because you said that's when the temptation of alcohol came back really strong. But I just thank God that by his grace,
I wasn't going to because she would have been like, where are you? What is this?
Yeah.
But it came back the strongest I felt it. And I was like, oh, you stressed. You more stressed than you think. But yeah, I'm really glad that I also have the community of people I have to where it would have been harder to slide back because of how many people are attached to me and would have been like, what are you doing? Which is a good thing too. Make sure your community is strong.
Make sure your community is strong. Yes.
You're as strong as they are.
Yes.
At least right. I am.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's true. And I think anybody who, I think we all have moments like that too, when something we may have struggled with in the past, if we're in like a really just difficult season, the enemy wants us to go back to something that maybe we relied on when we didn't rely on God, so it can be anything that we did in our past that the enemy can try to just bring back and say, all right, you might want to go ahead and try that again. Because remember when that used to work, right? But again, God can give us the grace to not go back. So.
And it never worked. Because if it worked, you wouldn't have stopped doing it in the first place.
It never worked.
It never worked.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It never worked. So.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Erica.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I appreciate you so much. And I know that this is going to bless people. I kept thinking about young people with this episode. Just
because I'm so young and hip.
Anytime
I say hip, I feel 1,000 years old.
Hip, I know, right? I love it. But I know people are going to be blessed by this. But yeah, I just kept thinking about young people in particular. But any age can be blessed by this. And so thanks again for sharing your story. I appreciate it. Yes. So thank you everyone for tuning in to this episode of Breakthrough Conversations. Go ahead and like this episode, share it with someone that they may be blessed and encouraged, and also leave a comment just letting us know what stood out to you today. If you haven't yet and you feel led to do so, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. In the meantime, everyone, enjoy your day and be blessed.